I'd like to call to order the Village Board regular meeting of January the 9th, 2014 to order at 7:04 p.m. Clerk Simsky, may I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Gunther.
Present.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington.
Here.
Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here.
Trustee Seneca. Here. Manager Searle.
Here.
Attorney Zemanek.
Here.
Public Works Director and Assistant Manager May.
Here. Would everyone please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to welcome everybody, and the first item on the agenda is the open forum. I don't know if anybody is here during the open forum portion of the meeting, if they have a request to address the board. I don't know if Chief, I don't think everybody's here as part of the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to? If not, then I will close the open forum. Move on to reports. The first report is mine, the mayor, and I've got a couple exciting things to do right off the bat. And the first thing is we'd like to the presentation of the Westmont Holidays Business Decorating Contest. And with here tonight is Stevie Gobolewski. I destroy your name, but Steve is the chair of the Holidays Committee.
Yep, and unfortunately Larry Forsberg was going to be here, but due to some scheduling conflicts, he was unable to make it, so I offered to help him out. Again, my name is Steve Gobolewski. Rolls off the tongue.
You say it a little bit better.
I say it fast enough.
You say it better.
Say it fast enough, it works. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Recreation at the beautiful Westmont Park District, and also the Chair of the Holidays, and I'm here to talk about the 2013 Decorating Contest. The 2013 Westmont Holidays Decorating Contest was judged by members of the home-based business owners in December. The judging criteria included originality, arrangement, holiday theme, and overall impact. We had 26 businesses that were reviewed by the judges, and the final score were very close. With that being said, here are our winners, and what they're going to do is they're going to come up, say a little bit about themselves, a little bit about their decoration, and then have the honor of getting their picture taken with the mayor. So, in third place, we have La Petite Sweets.
Look how cute. I don't speak in front of these things. I do.
Hi, Diane.
What are we supposed to talk about?
Just introduce yourselves and say about your decorations.
Bob and Diane Enigenberg, and we just put up some traditional Christmas decorations, just some holly swags. And I told Diane I wanted to come up and say that we thought we liked them so much we'd make them pink for Valentine's Day and green for St. Patrick's Day, and she said, "Don't you dare!" So I won't say anything.
Keep reference. We are going to take a picture. And Bob, where is your business at?
We're at 15 South Cass, right over by the railroad tracks and Cass Avenue.
Very good. Okay. Well, stay up here. We're going to take a group shot. I guess I get it.
Group shot.
And for those of you that have not been to La Petite Suite, you need to go.
Amen.
Phenomenal.
To get pictures of the mayor, Westmont.
You seen that, other people? See the rule process now?
It's cute.
In second place, round of applause. Good job. Thank you very much. In second place, we have LK Media.
That's nice. Very nice. Thank you, everyone. I'm Al from the LK Media Group. With me is my darling wife of 38 years, Bonnie, and my daughter, Tamara. We have 3 children, and it was really their theme. Actually, the Nutcrackers was our display, and for me, they're one step away from the garbage can, but they decided to do something with them instead, and I'll let them talk.
We really kind of felt the theme this year had a lot to do with Westmont. First of all, this was a family collection of nutcrackers. And our theme was Nutcrackers on Parade because we have been participating in the annual Holidays Parade for many, many years, and we felt that was critical to the kickoff of the season. We also felt the fact that Nutcrackers kind of represent a special way of representing all types of professions. And for those of you who got to take a look at our Nutcrackers, they really represented all aspects of different groups. There were police officers, there were firemen, there were teachers, all members of the community such as we have in Westmont. So we really felt the collection, Nutcrackers on Parade, represented what Westmont was all about. My daughter and I and Al worked hard to be able to create something that really had meaning for the village. So we're really proud to have won the award, and we already have an idea for next year. So thank you.
Keep falling down, going back up.
That's so cute.
Take care of.
And in first place, we have Audie Westmont.
All right, here's the deal. I'm in the automobile business. We sell luxury vehicles. I had no intentions of getting this contest. We wanted to decorate just to make the place look nicer, so two of my girls said, well, listen, let's get creative. So $1,000 later, they got creative. So, now, we all know Larry Forsberg is a great communicator, so I accidentally found his email reminding me of this. I dug through the 7,000 emails he sent me last week, and I go, hey, Larry, maybe, so they called up and they answered. It was kind of nice. We appreciate that. It's enjoyable, and mostly the reason why we did what we did is just, when kids come in the showroom, they sometimes don't want to spend time car shopping, and it captures their attention, and it created a nice atmosphere for everybody. So thanks for the recognition, but enjoyed being here tonight, and I'd love to see all these awards come with these young ladies here. So I had no idea that there was that much of the cheerleading going on tonight. So congratulations to everybody else.
So funny.
No, I emailed it out to the board today.
All right, again, just thank you to all the 26 participating businesses, and congratulations, top three winners. Thank you guys very much, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Steve. And now, we've got very exciting, because the town was well represented. Our Westmont Wildcat cheerleading squads, we had 3 of them go and compete at the national championships in Florida. Came back with 2 first place and a second. And I'd like to ask Liz Meneses, who is the coordinator for the cheer, and Connie Swan, if they'd please come to the podium, and we'd like to recognize and hear a little bit about the competition. So.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here again. It has been an awesome year for Westmont Wildcat program, Westmont Wildcat cheerleading in particular. Like the mayor just mentioned, 2 national champions and a second place down in Tampa. And we are incredibly proud and excited. And so I guess we should just get started. Some people to announce and acknowledge, so why don't we do that?
All right.
All right.
We're going to come out.
I'll let you guys
Okay.
get ready.
I'm going to ask Clerk Simsky to join me. And again, we want to acknowledge each one by team.
Yes.
Each one of these girls, and then present them something and take the team picture.
Excellent.
Sure.
All right, so we'll start with our youngest squad that went to nationals. These are 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Their first time competing at nationals, getting first place out of 13 teams. Pretty incredible. And they also got first at regionals, which is where they received their bid to get to nationals. So pretty incredible. I'm very, very proud of them. Sorry. All right. So you want me to start with the coach first, or the? Yes. Okay. Yeah, we need the trophy. head coach.
See that baby.
Bring the trophy. Margaret, can you bring it?
Oh, there they come. Don't worry.
So here's our hardware, one of them. This is head coach Margaret Kirkman. And we have an assistant coach, Joelle Siska, but she's not here tonight. So I wanted to applaud her as well. And then we'll get started with the cheerleaders.
Let's do the team coaches.
Oh, should we do teen coaches first? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, we'll start with the teen coaches. My first time. I'm new here. 10 years, actually. All right, first is Haley Hendrickson, our teen coach. Right up there. Next is Madison Manessis. Christina Rogers.
Hey, all right.
Erin Slattery is not here tonight, but we want to applaud her. Carson Swan. And now the cheerleaders, our first place national champions. We have Isabella Consiglio, but she's not here. Delaney Dunlap, unfortunately not here either. Christabel Gamboa. Janiyah Hood. Adelaide Kaiser. Destiny Phillips, I don't believe she's here. Riley Shiska, she's not here, sorry. Brianna Williams, not here either. Sorry. Mallory Garduno. Olivia. Thank you.
All right.
Christina Smedko? Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. And that is our Junior Pee Wee National Champions. Sure.
Look at Steve getting pictures.
Facebook.
Ready, here we go. Can I do one more? Anybody else?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Thinking about it. Yeah. For once, right? That's funny. Thank you. Nice. First team.
Look at the outfits.
Brian, you want to give him the trophy? Are they going to keep the trophy up?
That's cute.
Thank you for all their hard work. They were amazing.
Give them, I think, right?
Our second team is our Pee Wee team. They placed second out of 16 squads, so that's pretty incredible. This is our assistant coach, Jesse Salas. Our head coach, Heather Wagner. I just wanted to mention Pee-wees are our fourth graders. This is their first time at Nationals, and I'm so proud of them. They did an amazing job. And so we will get to announcing them.
Team coaches.
Team coaches. We have Shannon Flynn. Callie Thurm. Jocelyn Santiago, she is not here though. And our cheerleaders, our Pee Wee cheerleaders, Elisa Anderson, Mackenzie Blaine, Patricia Carter, Greta Saburka, Isabella Garcia, Lindsay Garcia, not here. Paige Grimm, Jordan Koresh, Gianna Kemp, Veronica Kiss, Avery Lipasek, and Rachel Palermo. And Tyler Klimzek, sorry. sorry. This is our Pee Wee second place national champions.
Paparazzi out there. All right. Lots of paparazzi.
One more, here we go.
You're used to it, girls. It only gets worse.
Thank you.
So cute.
Larry, I'll get her. All right. Ladies, congratulations again. All right.
They all leave, there won't be anybody left in the audience.
They are so cute.
One more coming.
We ain't even left down here. That was the be thinking.
All right, we've got
One left.
Okay, our next squad, our final squad, is our midget squad. They are our 7th and 8th graders. They placed first at regionals to receive a bid to go to nationals, where they placed first as well. They are back-to-back national champions. I'd like to introduce our head coach, Laura Listwan. Our assistant coach, Tina Welch. Our team coaches, Brianna Gilly. And Maya Burrell. And I know he's not here tonight, but Luke Waichoki, excuse me. Now for our cheerleaders, our national champions. Oriana Brown. Not here. Kaylee Charleston. Diamond Clay. Delaney Fisher. Haley Garcia. Not here. Mia Jones. Marianne Listwan. Hannah Macy. Janine Mantooth. Victoria Martinez. Lisa Nemec. Ayana Otokiti. Madison Painter. Caitlin Parsons. Jordan Struby. And Lily Welch. Our midget national champions.
If we can have the first row, yeah, take a knee down. Yeah, thank you. And then we'll have everyone kind of.
They should know how to do this.
Yeah, that's good. They're pros. Yeah. It's going to be hard. It's dark. Can we back up, actually? Is there room to back up? Yeah, I think so. All right, I think I can get you on there. And if I can. Ready? Right here, ready? I'm going to do one more.
Okay, parents' turn.
Yep. You did good. Christmas pageant. The phones.
The cheerleading, you know, it's probably 15 years old only, you know, I mean, it's.
Smiles so much on my face.
That was fast.
I just wanted to say thank you again for having us here tonight. It's been an honor to be here. We look forward to another great, successful year of cheerleading and bring some more hardware home to Westmont.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On your way out, I do have to say that this is a total volunteer commitment by not only the Liz and her coaches and Connie, but all the cheer coaches, the junior cheer coaches, the parents. A lot of hours went into getting the girls to this level. It's a huge commitment. They all paid for their way or raised money between their dinner and shake the can to go to Florida, and we came back national champs. So again, congratulations. We're very proud of you. Thank you. Okay, I do have a couple quick little comments. Coffee with the Mayor is at Dunkin' Donuts on 19 West 63rd Street this Saturday, 11 o'clock. And it says Spencer Parker will be the staff in attendance. So Spencer must like Dunkin' Donuts, so he will be there.
I'm surprised you didn't have the police
And again,
chief.
this will be the last coffee event until the spring. We're going to not have it in February and March. A board member, any board member, one board member is more than happy to join me if they'd like to. So we're not in violation of any, anybody would like to come? If not, I'll be there. We will be announcing the members of the new Environmental Improvement Commission at our next village board meeting. So that will be announced at that time. And that is all I have under my report. Clerk Simsky.
First of all, I just want to compliment our staff on the handling of all the snow since our last meeting. I mean, our street department was out Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. They have been around the clock for so many hours. I don't know, Steve has a better idea how many hours they put in, but they
I do.
worked. As did our emergency
11 days
staff.
kind of in a row.
Can I, I'm not to interrupt, but since you brought it up, I did ask Steve to quickly.
sorry.
No, and you reminded me, I asked Steve to quickly comment to the public, the process that we go about for snow removal.
There was two parts to that, the process when the very first event, and there was, I don't want to say question, but there was interest in, what actually triggers us coming out and working an event. And there are several circumstances that could do that. Obviously, well, not obviously, but very typically, one of the patrol officers will notice the conditions are to a state, and will immediately contact the standby person that would respond, who would in turn coordinate with the supervisor or the foreman, whoever's designated for that period of time. And there is also a whole full crew that is on standby as well that would be called out as the conditions warrant. So it starts with the 2 people and then moves up to 6 to 8 depending on the event. The foreman's also, a lot of our staff, most all of our staff lives in town, and they also can see the conditions as they're going. So the supervisors have the ability to, call out and initiate the work immediately as well. So no one's shy about starting and give attention to the precipitation as soon as it starts happening. Specifically combined with the forecast, it's very clear if you're gonna need a full crew ahead of time. So they're very good about getting out on time and right away. Depending on the event and how long it lasts, some events, last for hours or a half a day and you fight it, and, maybe depending on the amount of precipitation, you could address it with salt only. It isn't until you have an accumulation that you start plowing. And this last particular one has been so extended, in fact, there was some work that was done on Monday the 30th, and then overnight into the 31st, which would be New Year's Eve, they were called out again to address what was starting, and there was a very small break in the the middle of the morning, and then it started up again about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The full crew came out, and then it pretty much, I don't have to everybody lived it, so it kind of never stopped. And we quickly went into a pattern of what's 12 hours on and 12 hours off, where 2 full crews alternate work, and have pretty much been working nonstop. I've been trying to, take notes of the process, but I mean, starting back on the 30th and going through, they were in, still working it. They were in last night. We're not done with the downtown cleanup, which is after the streets are clear, we move into alleys, and then the sidewalks in the downtown. When there's enough accumulation that there's no more room to store any snow and you can't get it off the sidewalk and the parkways and there's no way to climb over it, we do what's called the downtown cleanup, and that can only be done at night. And we come in the evenings and physically collect all the snow and truck it out of the downtown and store it on our other properties. So that's what I refer to when I say the downtown cleanup, and that's been going on every evening. We started to do a downtown cleanup, and then we got 4 more inches of snow, right after they finished that. So, which is good, because there wouldn't have been room for the new snow if we hadn't done that. They were out again last night. They didn't quite finish. I know they'll be out again tonight. And by the time we get to the normal shift tomorrow or Friday, let's say 4 p.m. Friday, I was trying to calculate. The total period of time covered was 273 straight hours as far as time, and of that, they've worked for 223 of them physically on site in some combination of crews. So that's a very large, percent of the time. And of course, some of that is during the, the paid workday, but a lot of that is, overnights and weekends. So there's very high, attention this week, and, we're not done calculating what all that added up to, but it's been taxing on the people, it's been taxing on salt reserves, and everybody's very thin right now.
But as far as you have a procedure that you follow,
Yes.
as far as what major roads are done first, second, and
Yes, and then very roughly describing it, the highest traffic volume roads, the collectors and the arterials get the first attention and the most regular attention, and then low-volume roads, whether it's a cul-de-sac or a short street with not many people on it, still gets service, but not with the frequency that you would get, for example, on a Cass Avenue. I should also point out that the largest roads in town are not the jurisdiction of the Village of Westmont. So Ogden Avenue, 55th Street, 63rd Street, Cass Avenue south of 55th Street, north of Ogden Avenue are, either the Illinois Department of Transportation or the DuPage Division of Transportation too. And we are so much quicker and more thorough in what we're doing that we kind of end up scraping those two on our way, to our next street. So there's a little unintentional assistance there as well.
But again, I just thought it'd be important to kind of highlight the process that we go through, and it's, and I concur with Clerk Simsky. I think the crew has done a tremendous job of ongoing, and the salt with the cold temperatures, there's a question about that. It's...
Well, that's actually a big topic, but essentially what salt is doing is reacting with the precipitation, whether it's snow or it's rain, and making, if you want to think of it as a salt solution or a salt brine on the pavement. And that solution has a different freezing point than water would by itself, so 32 degrees. So you apply salt, and then the freezing temperature, you can keep lowering it. The higher the concentration of salt, you can achieve different temperatures as well, and then there's, I can get into solar radiation and the whole bit and make a difference, but what we do very effectively works till about 20 degrees, and below that, it's difficult to fight it with salt only. It gets much harder as it gets colder.
And again, I brought that up just because some of the residents were commenting that it seemed like the street still had snow on it, and a lot of it was because the salt's not really working when it gets that cold.
It's true.
Okay.
Not without a gross
scraping and...
Well, an absurd amount of application to, get that started, and then you're killing all the lawns and everything.
Not to prolong this, but do we have the ability to spread sand?
We do. Not to get into a bigger salt topic, but the way the salt works is it melts and gets on the pavement and spreads out on the pavement, and there's that layer between the snow and the street. When we get into like alleys that are stone alleys, everybody requests all the time that they be salted, but that's almost useless because it just drills right through, makes little holes, and then just keeps going down into the gravel. So you don't get that solution on the surface.
I had a resident bring it up on a hill, situation where it was obviously snowpack and ice.
And when we got into these coldest temperatures, they were using like a salt sand mixture combined together and spreading that out too, trying to get some traction on the surface. And then the sun comes out and glosses it up again.
Yeah, it's been bad.
I didn't mean, but I thought it was important because we had residents ask some of these questions, and I thought it'd be important for Steve and interrupt Jenny with her.
It was a very
report,
difficult event. And,
I think it's important too, but I also wanted to compliment all our staff because the phone calls were coming in, fire was busy, police were busy, everybody was working around the clock. This man was in early in the morning because I'm in early and I'd see the manager coming in, so. And lastly, I do want to congratulate one of my very favorite people, my deputy clerk, Carrie Kamak, on becoming certified. Carrie makes my life so easy, and I appreciate him.
Too. Carrie go home?
He's gone, but
He left.
he'll hear it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Really,
Well,
that's
thank you.
wonderful.
Attorney.
Wanted to give the board and mayor an update on 30 South Hudson. This is a residential property that was abandoned and in some state of disrepair. There were complaints coming from residents. You guys directed us to look into it. Violation notices were going unheeded by the property owner, who again did not live there. We ended up with Anne Marie Perez from my office taking the lead on this, getting an administrative search warrant, searching the house, having enough evidence to determine that the building was in a dangerous and unsafe condition, and then filed a lawsuit in circuit court to have the building demolished. Today we got a court order authorizing the demolition of that building and the detached garage. and we've got a future court date in April, assuming it's completed by then, to get a final judgment and a lien for the village's expenses, which will be filed against the property. Just want to give you that update.
Very good, thank you.
Was there a lot of valuables found? I thought Shannon had reported that there was like a lot of valuables and so forth in there.
There was an old car in the garage. That was the item of most value. I think the house was pretty much cleaned out, as I recall. I think it was just a garage that held a few items. I believe those were taken care of by the property owner.
Oh, so that party took care of.
I believe so, yeah.
Of course, stuff we value.
I could be wrong. I'll circle back and.
I was just curious what happens to that kind of stuff, if that was, I heard it was a Model T or Model A, like, does the village auction that, or how does that work if we end up with it?
I know Anne Marie was looking into what would happen if the owner didn't claim it. I think there was a claim made by the owner.
Okay.
So we would have to address that, yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
That's all I have.
That's all. Manager Searle.
Thank you. I wanted to request an executive session for the purpose of discussing, we're having a discussion with our auditor regarding internal controls. Also wanted to point out, given the weather situation, there's been a challenge, of course. Many people already know this about the garbage pickup being delayed. We were on a holiday schedule for an extra week. Also wanted to point out that the Christmas tree pickup program has gotten delayed until it will be picked up during the weeks of January 13th and 20th. So if you have got your tree out there and hasn't been picked up yet, that's a big part of the reason why, is because of the weather delays. So it will be collected by Waste Management. And then I wanted to ask Chief Mulhern to come to the podium. He wanted to talk about a upcoming seminar that's being put on at the Westmont High School.
Thank you, Manager Searle. Just to let you report on two upcoming community events. One is the one coming up January 22nd at 7 o'clock at night at the Westmont High School at the auditorium. It's called Heroin, the Suburban Secret. We're going to have Detective Michael Weibler has been arranging a lot of guest speakers of notable as Representative Patty Belloc will be there. State's Current Attorney Robert Berlin and DuPage Coroner Dr. Jorgensen are just some. And then we're going to have some parents who had children involved in heroin abuse. And again, we wanted to know, you'll see an article in the paper coming out that this is not so much a Westmont problem, but a community, or I'm sorry, a county-wide problem. This is a push by the DuPage County Chiefs of Police Association and other communities as well to bring this epidemic information and awareness to all the residents in DuPage County, not just Westmont. It's being bought county-wide. For those who don't know, DuPage County had the unfortunate experience of having the highest heroin overdose rate it's ever seen before in 2013. So we're trying as a countywide effort to address that situation. And also, because of the weather, we canceled our January 2nd active shooter or how to survive an active shooting presentation. And that's being rescheduled to February 18th. It's a Tuesday. It'll still be at 7 o'clock at night at the Westmont Police Department. And we ask that you RSVP to my administrative assistant, Deborah Rice. Her phone number is 630-981-6363, or send me an email directly or whatever, but we're trying to keep an idea of how many people we're going to have. It's been a very successful presentation. So these are two community presentations that we're trying to get out to our residents to keep them informed and aware of what's going on in the world.
And is that one at 7 o'clock too?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one other comment I would just wanted to mention and give State Representative Belloc a lot of credit. I know that even before you saw a lot of these community-wide seminars, this is a particular issue. This heroin issue is something that she took on more than a year ago and started holding town meetings at various parts of in her district. So I know it is something she's very passionate about and is very concerned about, and I'm glad that she's going to be participating in this upcoming seminar. That's all I have.
Good. Trustees, Trustee Barry.
I have several things. Again, to the snow removal, Ron, the police and fire, Steve May and Bob Bath, excellent job. I had the opportunity to drive through a lot of these communities, and matter of fact, one of the business owners, I think, Steve, I passed it on to you, actually stopped me on the street to compliment. He said, "You got to tell these Westmont guys, they do a great job." So again, and it seemed like all I heard was fire trucks and police going every time I was outside shoveling, so I know you guys were on your toes, and thank you, and the community really is lucky to have you guys, so thank you. Uncle John's Music is celebrating their 10th anniversary on January 16th at 5:30. They invite the public to attend, and Uncle John is a key to our downtown, and anyone who could come out and support him, he would appreciate it. Currently, through yesterday, through Saturday, the Rotary basketball tournament is going on at the junior high, 4 o'clock to 3:45 every day, and Saturday is going to be.
We're going to start at 9:30, I believe is the first game. You can look on the Rotary Club of Westmont website, and they will update the times because we had to add a lot of games.
Because of the weather.
The weather, I believe.
Great time and a great tournament, so if anyone wants to attend, the public is welcome. Again, at the Westmont Junior High. A get well to Shannon Malik. I hope she's doing well after her surgery. And then the final thing I have is that we are working with the U.S. Olympic Luge team. They are coming to Westmont on May 17th and 18th for their national tryouts. They've done this in the past, and I don't know if the residents remember this or not, but really a fun event. They start at the top of 55th and Cass and kind of go down to Uncle Bub's. This year, a twist to it is that we've received permission to do a private event on the old-fashioned fun activities, which we have. We'll have community organizations competing against each other. Well, the luge team is going to allow us to actually race the luges, whether it be the Lions Club or the Rotary. And again, this is going to be part of the ongoing community old-fashioned fun activities. So we're looking forward to a lot of things coming, and a Happy New Year to all. Thank you.
Trustee Addington.
Couple of things. Ron, for you, or Steve, on power outages, because I got a call Monday from a couple of people in town, different areas that lost power for a short period of time. Are we monitoring those and track them?
Yes, had a number of conversations with our external affairs representative, Terry Simmons, on Monday. I don't know how much detail you want to know. We lost power in Oakwood. Early in the morning, there was some lost phases in the businesses along Westmont Drive, and then there was actual power outages. I think it affected about 300 to 400 customers. They were able to get that.
Wilmette went out for a while.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Then they got that down. They got that repaired, but at the same time, it appeared like there was an outage at Blackhawk and Ogden. And when you look on the data map that ComEd allows municipalities to look at, it was a very small area around there. The odd part is we got a contact from somebody on North, a resident on North Blackhawk, who was not within that area. And I reached back out to the external affairs rep, reported that address, and then within a half an hour, suddenly the outage area around that area on Blackhawk had grown tremendously and had gone all the way over to Ogden and Cass. Now, I drove by there in the morning. I couldn't tell that all those places were out of power, but for at least an hour in the afternoon, it went all the way to Ogden and Cass to Blackhawk, and then went down Blackhawk. It stopped at Melrose at every point except on Blackhawk, went all the way down to Naperville Road. Now, those outages seem to clear up fairly quickly within an hour or so. The preliminary information I got from Terry was that they think it was a combination of ice and branches that hit the ice. I talked to her this morning about another question, and she reminded me that she knows she owes me some information as to what caused that outage, and we don't know specifically at this point. There was some outages. The map that I can see, I can see bits and pieces of our neighboring communities. Downers had some small areas. Of course, I think you probably heard on the news that Aurora had a fairly significant outage. I talked to a couple of other neighboring managers during the day, and they were okay. Oak Brook, Burr Ridge. So it's,
The bottom line is we monitor it and we stay on top of it.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Ron sends me some information. Immediately, he's notifying and contacting ComEd as soon as he finds out. So there's a direct communication within.
well, here's an important piece of information, though, for people to know, is that we get notifications, the chief's, police chief gets notification via fax, I get it via email, we get phone messages that are somewhat generic, so we know that there's going to be problems. We can go on this website, we can look at the data that's there. The problem is that data's not there unless people report it. And a lot of people, I think, assume that ComEd knows if your power's out. They don't. And I know it's a somewhat controversial subject, but as we've all seen, part of this massive bill that was passed a couple years ago in upgrades for ComEd includes smart meters. One of the advantages of the smart meters program will be an interactive communication with ComEd where they can actually tell when an address is out of power.
Really?
Yeah, the calls will not have to be made. So that's not going to happen for a few years in our community. It's happening in some other communities already. I would still say to any resident or any business, if you lose power, try to call it ComEd first. We know that sometimes that's a frustrating experience. And if you can't get a hold of someone there, call us because we can get the information through to them.
Thank you. I also want to throw a lot of kudos out to our street department. I've been here for 45 years, and every winter that we've had snow, I always know if I'm in Westmont or someplace else. It just, you cross the border, whether it's a side street or anything else, you know you're in Westmont. And they, for all these years, they're just phenomenal. And I don't know why the other communities don't pick up on it. They, a lot of compliments to me these last several days from folks who said, my goodness gracious, And I hear the plows go by, sometimes it's midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. You can hear the scraping. I mean, they're out there. They
It's a nice sound.
Yeah, well,
When the snow is coming down.
It's nice to know for all these years that it's something that we have done that is such high quality, and yet you would think the surrounding communities would pick up on it, and maybe we should just let them alone and stay at the top of the heap, because we do one heck of a job. And Steve,
Some of our plows are even decorated.
You need to go
painted.
back and tell them they're phenomenal. They really are. On another note, this coming up Monday, it was supposed to be last Monday, but nobody wanted to go out when it was 40 below. We have our kickoff for this year for the 2014 barbecue. It'll be at the Westmont Center at 7 o'clock. Anybody who would like to come and participate or see what's going on or volunteer, 7 o'clock at Westmont Center for the Red, White, and Barbecue. And we're expecting another great year this year, but we always can use more help. I'd like to put on for discussion, I don't know if this would be something for Public Works or one of the other committees, but talk about, we've got 5 or 6 different engineering contracts that we're looking at here. I'd just like to look at some point with one of our committees, talk about the philosophy.
Sure.
Are we?
Tracting out.
Yeah, is this the best bang for our buck? Should we try to do something different? But we seem to have an awful lot of engineering outside contracts, and it's been a long time since I've been involved in any of those discussions, so I'd like to do that. And then the last question is something that just has been in the news and in the newspapers is what's going to happen Saturday. Is there any thoughts on what happens if we end up with puddling of water because there's no place for it to go when we hit 40 degrees?
Well, sure, but it's, there's a lot of reaction to that. Certainly, even with all the amount of snow plowing that's been done, the streets aren't what we would call curbed, perfectly well.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is not exposed, but when it does melt, it does tend to kind of melt from underneath. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the water kind of all still runs along the gutter and undercuts all of it. That doesn't always happen, and sometimes, it falls in, and we have a lot of great residents that go out and, take care of their corner as well, but we do a lot of patrolling and looking, and then they'll go out and physically hand shovel out, a corner where they see it starting to build up.
Okay.
But
But again, that's something we as residents can do too, is to go and open up
appreciated,
some of those drains
yeah.
if we can.
Right. And there's a lot out there though too. We don't want anybody getting hurt doing it, but, we'll take care of it as they occur.
Good, thank you. That's it,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, sir.
Trustee Scott?
Can we talk about the warming centers and were they used over the winter storm there? And, how many people?
Chief
have
Weiss. I know there was a lot of communication with the county.
Yes, we had designated warming centers in the village. We have secondary sites also. Our primary ones is the library, but we had a situation where the library closed down, so we had to put a press release out to let everybody know, to update things. So that was an ongoing thing. We did put signage there to let them know that it is closed and to come to 500 North Cass. So we had 500 North Cass and 6015 South Cass, both police and fire facilities. We had nobody utilize the warming centers, except we had one person at headquarters station that I saw at my window standing waiting for the bus. And we brought her in because she had missed the one bus and it wasn't coming back for a while. And so we gave her coffee, put her in the lobby, and then checked on the next time the bus was coming, and then she went out and caught the bus. So that really was the only person that I believe. Do you have one that come in?
Near when we had a woman call, she was involving in the power outage that Manager Searle described. She couldn't get out of her garage because the power outage and the cord to open the release the garage couldn't get out, so she called us for help to get her to the warming center. As we arrived at her front door, the power came back on. However, myself...
You guys do good work.
However, you can talk to Deputy Chief Gunther. He fixed her rope on her garage door for her, so she was very, very happy. She had a small infant, I would say less than, possibly 3 months old, child with her, and the temperature was down to about 62, 63 degrees in her house.
Oh, it's chilly.
Our secondary sites are one South Cass, the Park District Community Center, and then the Village Hall here. And we don't want to put those out as primaries because we need staff to staff all those. So.
And I guess the next question would be is how long was the power out in some of these areas?
Well, I think
Any kind of a time frame?
Only estimated, and I don't, I can follow up with comment and see if they can give us more data, but my experience is that they don't, collect that type of data. But I would say the areas at Oakwood was out at least 4 or 5 hours that I'm aware of. And then the area south of Ogden was probably out a couple of hours. Again, I'm basing it on complaints or contacts that we had and looking at the maps, which again, the maps aren't always accurate. They give you a time of estimated outage. They give you an estimated repair time, but more often than not, those aren't accurate. And again, they don't always include all the addresses.
My thinking is that once you get to that 4 or 5 hour part, you probably should have been out of the house already. Right. Especially if we're talking with the amount of seniors we have, this incident with the baby and stuff like that. Is this a thing where the public is not aware that we have warming centers? And the only reason I'm even bringing this up is because we put it out in every press release we could about garbage pickup being put off a day, yet you can drive down Oakwood Drive and almost every house had their garbage out today.
Yeah.
And it's not till tomorrow.
You can put it out there, but you can't make them read it.
No, I know, I understand it. I understand it. But garbage is one thing.
Yeah.
Power outage and that kind of weather, that's life and death.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to send somebody to knock on the door
And that's
say,
what the chief we were talking about. I was going to have to be going through with a loudspeaker, letting people know. But I think we have to make every attempt we can, whether it's this meeting, I know it's the newspapers and everything else, to at least let people know these warming centers are out there. Don't wait till that last minute. Don't wait till it's 5 hours and the house is at 60 or 50 degrees or 40 degrees. You got to get out sooner. And those places are there for you to use. So.
Yeah, when it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's minus 14, and you don't have heat, that house is going to get cold pretty quickly.
That's it, I just
Oh,
want to
thank
get
you.
that.
Good
that
point. Thank you, Trustee.
message out there.
Trustee Nero.
Just a couple things. First and foremost, just again, add on to everybody else's compliments. Thanks to the street department. I drive around a lot for work. And Trustee Addington, you're right on the head. I mean, you know exactly when you're in Westmont. It's nice to know. I can turn off the four-wheel drive and drive a lot nicer and easier on the gas. So thanks to all your guys. I know you don't have enough sometimes, but you really do a dang good job at keeping those streets clean and safe for our first responders as well. So thanks to that. And also, I know there was a water main break last Saturday. The crew got out there right away and fixed it. I mean, I don't even know what the temperature was, but I can only imagine. That wasn't a lot of fun, but they knocked it out and took care of it. And next, on Monday, the 20th, January 20th at 7 p.m., we will have a stormwater meeting. The agenda should be posted tomorrow, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Barker.
If I do it now, I won't have to do it under committee reports. So Westmont First is meeting next Wednesday at 7 p.m. here in Village Hall. That's January 15th. And also we are working on the mobile app, and they're going to launch that soon. And then with that comes a comprehensive list of Westmont businesses on the village website. And they're rolling that out as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you. Trustee Seneca.
Thank you. Just to echo everyone's comments on what a great job our fire and police and staff, and especially street department and water department did during this storm. It's, when you do hear that plow at 4 in the morning, it is a nice sound. And they're just so very, very much appreciated. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And on the agenda, the first of the month, we have committee reports, Administration and Finance.
We met earlier today at 5 o'clock and had several things that were on on our agenda. We're going to do a compensation study because it should be done every few years, and we haven't done one now for looks like around 12 or 13 years. That's going to include the possibility of looking at some performance management to go along with annual increases. Budget, things are continuing with the finance department, and they're going to put a schedule out, but we'll start meeting in another couple of months, big time to work on next year's budget. We are going to talk in next year's budget about restoring possibly some of the facade and life safety grants. It all depends on money and what's there and what's not. So, and later in our agenda tonight, we'll be talking about trustee salaries. And then we're working in the next budget item with a couple other things. We did have some discussions about bringing the home rule question back, and also televising, possibly if we can, some of the budget hearings, so that everybody has a chance to watch that. And I think that basically was the highlights of this afternoon's meeting.
Thank you. Building and zoning.
We're meeting on January 23rd at 5:30. The public is always invited to come. With Shannon out, we haven't really set our agenda at this point, but we'll have it by then. So that's what I have.
Thanks. Public safety.
Public safety. We have not had a meeting since our last update, but we have one coming up, I believe, February 6th. I encourage the public to come to this meeting, or to come to all of our meetings, particularly public safety, because this is your police department, your fire department, your community, and your safety. So, the more people that we have participate, the better, and I would urge our residents to come to all of our committee meetings. They're open. That's all I have.
Public Works.
It hasn't had a meeting since last time. Our next meeting is the 3rd of February.
20th.
The 20th of February. Close.
Thank you. Public information.
Our next public meeting will be March 6th at 5:30 p.m. And the village web calendar is completely updated for committee and board meeting listings for all of 2014. And I wanted to add, because I forgot to mention this, but the boosters are having their annual fundraising dinner tomorrow night at Westmont High School.
Thank you.
From 5 to 8 p.m. So, and Sweet and Savory is doing the catering, so.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
And there is
should be nice.
boys sophomore and varsity basketball game, 5:30 and 7. Peatone, they're playing a conference game against Peatone. So. Code enforcement.
I just wanted to share that the code enforcement staff is working on preparing everything so that they're ready with a full staff in the spring. And they're just doing some background work for that as well.
You got anything more on Westmont First?
Meeting next Wednesday, 7 p.m.
Very good.
Harold, I missed the time of your meeting, I'm sorry.
5:30. It's before village board meeting on the 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
And the last committee report would be the Community Stormwater Management Committee.
And there's no update from that. Our next meeting will be the 20th at 7 p.m.
Very good.
January.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, the items to be removed from the consent agenda. Are any of the board members requesting that any of the items be removed from the consent agenda? If not, on the consent agenda, Manager Searle, would you please read?
We have the following items on the consent agenda under village board minutes. We have minutes from village board meeting held December 12th, 2013. Village board special budget meeting held December 19th from 2013. Next, we have finance ordinance number 18 in the amount of $1,536,185.21. And then we have the following purchase orders. PO 110320608 Amalgamated Bank of Chicago in the amount of $953,375.01. And this is for payment on the 9.5 acre principal and interest that the board had decided to do earlier this year in the budget process. Then we have purchase order 1103231 to AHW LLC. This has to do with the purchase of a piece of utility equipment with attachments that will allow it to be used by the water department as well as the street department or division in snow removal operations such as we've been experiencing lately. Next, we have PO 110326649 Vidido Tree Experts in the amount of $34,718. This has to do with tree and stump removal. Then we have purchase order 110326610 for the vendor is Harris MSI. This is the software program that we use that we have to pay annual fees towards, and that is the amount of $20,499.85. Then we have PO 110326636 to Don Morris Architect in the amount of $17,499.31. And again, because we missed some meetings, we have some things that have kind of doubled up here. We have a purchase order 1103245. This is also to Don Morris Architects in the amount of $17,065.97. This one was for November 13th services. The one I mentioned just prior was for December 13th services. Next, we have purchase order 1103257 to MNJ Technologies Direct. This has to do with a grant that we received to help expand our security camera system. And then we have purchase order 1103243 to Bella Flowers and Greenhouse in the amount of $9,825. This has to do with placing an order for our 2014 hanging baskets. This item is pending approval of the 2014-15 budget. However, discussions that we had last year, because we made the decision rather late. We normally would place the order early on to make sure we get what we want, and we're anticipating that we will have that approved in the budget this year, so we have put that item on the agenda as well. Then the final purchase order is PO 11032543 to Gregory Property and Development Corporation, $9,112.17. This has to do with Greenleaf subdivision punch list items. So the total amount for purchase orders and the finance ordinance, and again, I'll remind the public that it's been a while since we had a meeting because of the holiday, a month, as the mayor pointed out, totals $2,648,797.89. And then the last item that we have on the consent agenda is approval for a community event, the Westmont Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau Open House. Actually, 2 open houses that they have every year. This would be for the dates of February 19th and September 17th. The issue is to waive the special event liquor license fee and to grant a request to serve alcohol on village property as they have these open houses at Westmont Center. The events will be held from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. at Westmont Center. And again, this is something we've done a number of years, and staff recommends that.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved, Scott.
Second, Addington.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the public? Board, trustees.
Just clarification that the Westmont Center, the Westmont Chamber request is, there's a separate ordinance that was passed out for that. So although you're approving a motion for the entire consent agenda, that also includes an ordinance for the Chamber of Commerce waivers.
Okay. Any other comments, discussion? Can I ask Clerk Simsky for a roll call?
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Moving on to unfinished business. A, Baxter and Woodman, addendum to the agreement, fire headquarters roof and HVAC. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing addendum to the proposal from Baxter and Woodman for the north roof and HVAC improvements at the fire department headquarters station. Manager Short.
As we've discussed, the fire headquarters station is in need of roof repairs. Due to budget restrictions, the repairs were split into 2 phases last fiscal year and this fiscal year. The south side of the roof was designed and replaced. The tower roof and the HVAC system was postponed to this fiscal year. The village board voted to reject all of the bids that we received for combined north roof HVAC improvements on the or at the December 12th meeting, and it was requested that our engineer Baxter Woodman split the project into 2 separate bids, with the HVAC being completed prior to the roofing repairs. And I believe there's information in your packet that it is from Baxter Woodman that explains that. The original agreement with Baxter Woodman totaled $21,500, which included Phase 2 and Phase 3 engineering. The proposal for the additional work totals $909,500, in addition to $4,500 for Phase 2 costs and $5,000 for Phase 3 costs.
Do you have any comments, staff?
I guess I just want to describe when we talk about Phase 2 and Phase 3, it is not the phases of that project. Any engineering agreement, Phase 2 refers to the design and preparation of plans and specifications getting out to bid, and Phase 3 represents what would be construction inspection services. So that's what that is referring to in all cases.
Any public questions? Seeing none, why do I have a motion first?
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second, Nero.
I have a motion to approve as presented and seconded.
As far as
Trustee
discussion?
questions?
Oh.
Yes, now.
As we all know, I was against this engineering from the get-go. When we originally did this before, it spent $21,000, and now it seems like it's costing us more. there was a question because they're moving the HVAC. So it was explained to me that it couldn't be handled in-house because of the structural moving of that HVAC. I've personally gone to that building, and I really question how nobody from staff, nobody from engineering could see that that building is built the same all the way across. I question all the way through why we would use an engineering firm and add so much cost to this project. And then when it comes through after we spent the 21.5, it's kind of not really a complete bid, and now we're back and they're charging us more money. I come back to why this isn't handled in-house. And I question that, and I question the amount of money. You know, it seems like, as to what Trustee Addington's getting at, it seems like we're hiring engineering firms all the time, but yet a lot of our major salaries are to engineers at the village. And again, I just think we add so much to this project, and all for engineering. And I just question that overall, and I've questioned it from the very first time we saw it, you know, back in October.
Well, maybe it's a good opportunity to have staff address that. So I guess I turn to Steve May.
I guess it boils down to the expertise of the individuals and the staffs. I guess it'd be a good time to comment on just the terminology engineers. There are many different types of engineers, just like there are many different types of doctors. You could be a doctor of philosophy, and it doesn't mean you can do, you know, surgery too. So the staff engineers are civil engineers. It's a general education. There are structural engineers. There are environmental engineers. Or you know, we have different training and certifications, but we can't do all these other things. In fact, when the ones that require licensure, structural engineers are licensed separately than civil engineers. And you know, I can't drive a train either, you know, and they're called engineer. I've tried, they've pulled me down, and I'm not allowed to do that. But there's, you know, I guess it's just more of not focusing on the terminology. So whether we've got skills to evaluate something too, then there's also the capacity of actually, you know, doing plan sets. And, you know, when I first started here in 1986, we did do our own drafting, and we had things like that too, but we're not equipped the same way we were in the past. So we do have reliance on consulting engineers to prepare these. In capacities we don't. The alternative example is when we do like our street resurfacings that don't require a full set of construction plans and drawings, and it's just a specification booklet. We do all that in-house, and those are things that we're equipped to do. So roofing is a very
in this particular project, I question why we wouldn't go to 4 HVAC contractors, 4 roofing contractors, and completely eliminate the engineer. And now it's going to be $35,000, $40,000 we're adding to. I believe the whole project was 130. Is that correct? Is the whole project 130 or higher? Higher.
One way to look at that is I'll go to a different example first. For example, the purchase order for the tree surfaces, we were able to prepare the specifications so that when we solicited quotes from different companies to do that, they were all giving us a price on the exact same scope of work. If you don't have that, you don't have the ability to do it. You can contact 4 HVAC people and say up there and just, you know, it's their opinion as what's involved, you know, to have it removed. Somebody has to write the specification to determine what they're all going to give you a price on. And when it's a large enough project, that's when we get into a bidding process. We could, you know, if you don't have to call it bidding, we can just mail it out to people we want to invite and solicit proposals from them, but we're talking about very large amounts of money, and it's more appropriate to competitively bid it.
Well, in fact, I'm required to competitively bid.
I don't necessarily know that I got an answer, Steve, but I guess what you're telling me long-winded is that there's no one on staff qualified to come up with a scope of work bid for this job, for this project.
That was why we hired
Yeah, the other part of that too, though, is the engineer designs something and assures us that it's going to work, and they assure us that it's going to be built as drawn. And, you know, I have an issue with spending money on engineers as well. You know, I didn't support the idea of splitting this into two separate proposals just because of the additional cost. And the original recommendation from the engineering firm was to bid it together. And now we're second guessing that, and that, you know, the general contractor might not be able to control his HVAC guy if he happens to be a roofing contractor. Well, typically they have a relationship where they're used to working together. They want to partner with somebody that is capable of doing the work, and they don't risk working with a stranger. And I can give you an example of a building where the HVAC system went up on the rooftop, and the roofer can't even get underneath the unit to do the work, or if the roof goes down first, the guy that's insulating the HVAC unit can't get in there to even insulate because there's no space. So they have to work in tandem with each other to make it effective project. And that's what I'm afraid that we're going to get into this. If we're splitting things up, you run the risk of having those kind of problems. And, you know, everybody knows that.
So really, that's two different issues. One is, and to answer Trustee Berry's comment, is that our current staff is not equipped to do that sort of engineering design work. And the second thing is Trustee Barker was, you know, we bid it out separately now to see if we can get better prices too. That was the other thing, because
Well, you can rebid it as a complete package too and maybe get better prices.
To bid it out separately was to ensure control over that. The HVAC general contractor was doing the HVAC work and the roofing general contractor was doing the roofing work. We can not proceed with any further engineering, reuse the same plans and specifications, and just go out to bid and hope for a different result, or expect the same result and account for it in the budget.
And again, just to clarify my point, I thought that this was something that didn't need the outside engineering firm. That's just to clarify my point, that not necessarily that I thought maintenance, and I thought, again, us as business owners or as homeowners, none of us would hire an engineering firm to check on moving an AC unit from one side to the other. And it just, again, I look at the money aspect of it. So that's where I want my clarification.
Speaking of the money, we have Spencer at the.
Can I make one comment, please?
Would you like to?
The manager would like to make a comment.
You know, just going back to the recollection of the budget discussions we've had, you know, we're responsible to the public, and obviously we have to spend our dollars prudently. When this first came up, I had the same questions about, you know, why do we need to hire a structural engineer to do this? And I don't think if we didn't have to move that equipment, and if we didn't have the age of the building to deal with, and the questions about the integrity of the work, of the actual base of the roof, we would not have done that. Because I remember having conversations about that. I would not be in favor of doing that. But I think at the time, and we had discussions about this at Public Works Committee meetings, that it seemed like it was the prudent thing to do, certainly from a liability standpoint, if something were to happen, that if it got moved and the roof, for whatever reason, couldn't support that structure. So that, in my mind, was the reason that we went the route that we did, and we certainly do not have structural engineers on staff. When they look at that, they put their license on the line when they say, okay, this is something that's going to support that weight. So I certainly understand where you're coming from, but that, in my mind, was the rationale from the beginning as to why we did this. And we split it up because of the cost. I mean, we weren't excited about the fact that we had to do that because it was very expensive. So, I'm sorry, that's all I just wanted to add.
I just wanted to kind of follow up with that. This roof project has been in multiple budgets. It started off a couple of years ago, and initially the budget we had did not include any engineering because we were initially just going to have the contractors come in and take care of it and do the work. The contractors informed us that based on what they found with the building, they needed the engineering before they'd be willing to make that move on their own. And so at that point, then we said, okay, if we're going to do the engineering, it's going to cost more than we expected, and we ended up pushing it off for another budget year and then splitting the project into two pieces. But it was originally not our plan to do the engineering until the contractors came and actually said they weren't able to do it without the engineering.
Well, they were afraid to. They were concerned about the structural integrity of the roof and didn't necessarily want to take on that liability. Could we have found somebody that would have done it? Maybe. Probably.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
but,
yeah.
you know,
And
it
we
seemed
do
like the
have-
right thing to do for the public.
But
We've
the
had
cost of,
examples of roof work we've done at street where it was done directly with the roof contractor without engineering done. And then there's another example where at water where it was more complex and then, you know, an engineer got involved there too. So it depends on the problem we're dealing with.
and when you're talking structural integrity, the cost of an accident would be a whole lot more than the, you know, thousands of dollars we're talking here for a structural engineer.
Do our due diligence.
Right.
The liability.
And just to answer the question that was asked, the total cost that's budgeted this year for the project is $162,000.
Additional comments? Questions? Seeing none, the motion has been made and seconded. Clerk Krasinski, can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Sunny.
Yes.
Moving on to new business, A, 143 South Cass Avenue, development permit. Board to consider ordinance approving the following request from Darrell Gruters of Darrell Gruters Interior Design Services in the B1 Limited Business District. 1, development permit. 2, full masonry waiver. Manager Searle.
Applicant is moving his interior design studio from his current location in Palos Park to 143 South Cass Avenue, which is currently vacant. The tenant space is adjacent to Eclecticville Antiques and Collectibles to the north. Parking is adequate for this use. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the full masonry requirement by code. Commercial businesses must operate from buildings constructed of solid masonry. This building was converted from a residential single-family home, frame home, to a business. New business developments in the B1 district require village board approval. The development permit is intended to enhance the sales tax base with high-quality retail and specialty shops.
And I know we have the petitioner here.
Hi,
Evening.
my name's Darrell Groders, and I'm moving my interior design firm, like you said, from Palos Park, Illinois, excuse me, to Westmont, and I'm very excited to be moving to Westmont. And my firm offers a wide array of residential interior design, from high-end to a small retail space that's going to be offered in the front of the building for accessories and some fixtures. We also do specifications for tile, stone, any type of residential specification that needs to be done, space planning. My projects have ranged anywhere from Hinsdale to Inverness, Chicago, Clarendon Hills, Westmont. And basically, we're going to be offering a full-service interior design firm.
Great.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions or...
Staff has any comments?
We're very excited about Mr. Groder's business. This will fill a storefront that's been vacant for several years. I'd encourage all of you to check out his website. He's got some very cool projects.
just did.
Okay, yes.
I just did it.
It's very impressive. And the property owner's son-in-law is here also, in case there's any additional questions.
Yeah.
Very good. Is there any public questions? If not, do I have a motion?
So moved, Senator.
Second.
Second, Senator. Third, Senator.
Whoa. Oh, third. It was third.
Sorry.
My mouth was open too much anyway.
And who's,
Who was second, I think, or third, or fourth.
so we do have a motion that's been moved and seconded. Trustee, questions or comments?
Can we ask how you picked Westmont?
I'm sorry?
Can we ask how you picked Westmont?
Well, Westmont is sort of centrally located in the middle of everything, so I've been told. And,
Sounds like a good theme.
yeah,
Yeah, where have I heard that?
I'm in Naperville, Hinsdale, Oak Brook, Westmont. So most of my clients used to come to Palos Park, and it was a real truck for them to get all the way over there, and most of my client base is over here. So at one point, my business has been growing, and I just need to move into a bigger space. and get centrally located.
We're glad we are centrally located.
If you haven't already, I urge you to connect with our Chamber of Commerce. They're fabulous, great networking opportunities. They really do support the businesses, so I would urge you to connect with them.
Thank you.
I have a
Trustee
question
Barry?
to Jill, I guess. Is this where Uncle Bub's is currently parking all those vehicles, the trucks?
They're all gone.
They're all gone and they're,
Yeah, we were just letting them use that as a courtesy, but they are located somewhere else.
okay. Because I would think that that would affect the parking if we were going to have both, you know. So, very good, thank you. I wish you the best of luck.
Right, that's great.
Any additional questions?
gonna be
Roll
great
call, please.
business.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. B, massage establishment license. Board to consider ordinance to increase the number of massage establishment license by one while considering to approve or deny a massage establishment license for Lili Incorporated located at 667 North Cass Avenue. Manager, sir.
Massage establishment license has been requested by Lili Inc. Currently, there are no massage establishment licenses available. The board will have to raise the number of available massage establishment licenses by one in order to issue the license. The board is asked to either approve or deny a massage establishment license after reviewing the recommendation from the village manager and the chief of police. Concerning the applicant, you have a packet, and I know you received it electronically, at least the chief's portion of it, recommending denial of this, and then you got a packet, including a cover memo for me tonight, concurring with that. So you have that information.
Chief.
Mayor and Minister. With me is Veronica Wang, who is a representative for the applicant Shuang Zhang, who is also here with us tonight, to answer any questions that the board may have. It's a massage establishment that would be going in at the address, which is the strip mall by the old Pizza Hut, North Cass Avenue, and I could let the applicant explain what her business proposals would be and answer any questions. Also, per our ordinance on massage establishment licenses, I forward the board some considerations and ideas that they need to, can consider as well when determining whether to approve or deny this, increasing the massage establishment licensing by one to allow a license be made available for Lili Inc. So with that, I will turn over to Ms. Zuling Zhang and Veronica Wang.
Just we are going to operate a massage store in the 667 North Cass Avenue. Because as far as I know, there's less massage store in the Westmont, so we are going to serve Westmont people. And right now, Shuling Zhang is working in the Chicago, also a massage store, and she came from China, and she has already has the experience in the massage service area, and also she already gets a massage therapist license here. And so right now she hopes for a massage establishment license to operate a massage store here. Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Scott.
Motion been made and seconded to approve. Trustee, questions or comments?
How many do we currently have?
7.
7, so this would be going to 8?
Right. So, you know, when you analyze this, there's 2 steps to it. One, do you want to increase the number of available licenses, the ones available for the applicant's use, which is based on the needs of the community, et cetera, and I think you have the ordinance in front of you. And then the section, the other vote is, it's all one vote, but whether to issue the actual license to the applicant if you feel that he or she meets all the criteria.
To answer Trustee Seneca your question, there are 7. To answer one of the questions in the ordinance, which you consider geographical locations. The other closest ones are Body Dynamics at 834 East Ogden Avenue, which is, I think, down near Pasquinelli, but more closer is Tranquil Passage, which is 3912 North Cass Avenue. And then you have Natural Health Therapy at 519 North Cass.
Any additional comments?
I have a question. Have you ever run one of these businesses before?
Actually not.
No.
But right now she works in the Chicago, also massage store. So she has experience in massage, but
In massage, but not in running a business?
yeah, no running a business.
Okay, thank you.
If I could point out some-
But one more issue is her husband has experience in running business. So I think her husband will assist her in running business here.
In the massage business?
No massage.
Not in the
business,
massage business?
Trading business.
Trading?
Mhm.
Okay.
And part of the issue too is if he's going to become an employee or any part, he would also have to have been subject to the background investigation. The only employee which we've done any investigation on has been Schuling herself. She indicated to us initially that she would be the only employee manager and masseuse and everything. And Deputy Chief Gunther can expound on that. He was part when the interview with her. There are issues where you have to have a manager on premises along with the masseuse. Another issue as well too is the number of people out on the property. Her occupancy cannot exceed 4 people at any given time based on the planning configuration which she's presented. The problem there is that if you have Schuling doing massages and then a manager and a person, you're only allowed either 2 customers, or if you have another person and another employee in there, you're only allowed 1 customer at a time. One of the questions is how this will have the impact of the village staff and the police department in particular, is how it will impact the establishment and what impact will the establishment have on the community. This would require more observation by our police officers, making sure that the occupancy doesn't exceed 4. If it does, she does have to make pretty significant modification changes into adding an extra bathroom, and that would also, in checking with Jill, may trigger ADA requirements, and it would be a major undertaking as well. So the impact of the police department would be extra watches, extra passes, as well as enforcement checks.
Do you already have clientele? How will you market this?
We think we can, because they right now they live in Westmont, and they are familiar with Westmont people. So I think many Westmont like Taiwanese and like Chinese will come to their shop.
I think we appreciate any new business that wants to come into town, and we thank you for considering us, but we put a number on establishments at 7 for a reason. I think that's pretty much what this town can
I think
handle
we're
at
pretty
this time.
saturated.
So I would not be in favor of increasing it. If we didn't, we wouldn't have put a number on it.
Exactly.
Any other comments? Seeing none, can I have a roll call on the motion, please?
Trustee Addington.
No.
Trustee Barry.
No.
Trustee Scott.
No.
Trustee Barker.
No.
Trustee Nero.
No.
Trustee Seneca.
No.
Thank you for considering Westmont. The chief, if you have additional questions, Chief Mulhern can help you answer those for you. Thank you. C, 415 North Warwick, Board to consider ordinance authorizing a real estate contract for the purchase of 415 North Warwick by the Village of Westmont. Manager Searle.
Village has negotiated a purchase contract for 415 North Warwick as part of the village efforts to mitigate stormwater problems in the northeast acres area. Funding for this purchase will come from bonds recently issued by the village. Ordinance authorizes the real estate contract and directs the village manager and village attorney to take necessary steps to close the transaction.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? Do I have a motion?
Motion, Addington, yes. Or motion to approve. Motion to approve, so we can.
Did you vote and make a motion at the same time?
Second by yes, later.
What did they do 20 years ago? Is that how they did that?
I stumbled all over myself, things like that.
Sufficient. All right. A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second by Barry.
Seconded. Motion made and seconded. Do I have questions or comments?
If this is approved, we're set to close on January 15th.
Any additional?
Mr. Mayor, do we want to maybe explain the background on?
We can ask the Somewhat Manager Searle touched on it, if you'd like to give a little bit more of an explanation.
Well, as I stated earlier, this is part of property acquisition in certain areas that we've looked at that were identified in a study that we had done several years ago by Christopher Burke, where we need to do something to address the stormwater issues, and after an analysis of other types of alternatives, acquisition of property seems to be the most logical way to approach that. In addition to that, there is also an opportunity to do intergovernmental cooperative projects, in this particular case with the Park District because of the proximity with the park. So not only will we be able to see a benefit from a stormwater standpoint, but also I think from expanded park area.
Any additional comments? Spencer is moving quickly, so Spencer Parker, would you?
I did just want to add that, as indicated in there, to take the steps to close, we'll be closing and making the payment. And so the purchase order for that payment will be approved by the board retroactively at the next meeting because it's part of the consent agenda. We didn't want to, put it on this agenda to approve it before you'd actually decided if you're going to approve it. So if the board approves this, then they'll be approving the purchase order retroactively at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also mention too, from a background standpoint, that this is the lowest piece of property over in that area. And when we had the rains last year at this time, the house is set back about 230 feet and the water went right up to this house. So this will be I think a good acquisition to help us with correcting some of the problems there on Warwick, which is one of our more serious problems.
And I think to go along with that, one of the things we want to do before anybody else decided to purchase it and develop it is to acquire it so we can stop any new building for now in that area. So,
And I think that this is the first step for Steve and the Stormwater Committee to really start to see improvements and start to get some action.
Seeing no additional comments or questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
D, American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers Agreement. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers for a license to publicly perform compositions in the ASCAP repertory. Manager Searle.
As a licensee, the village may publicly use ASCAP-held compositions. At various public events, we do play music, or different groups that are part of that may play that music. And this is one of several licensing organizations to legally allow us to do that. In this particular case, they require even governmental entities to take out these types of licenses. And this would be an agreement for January 1st, beginning of this year through the 31st.
Any public questions on this? What is the fee involved? $330. Okay, just so they know, that's just
it's not a large.
It's not a large amount, but
no,
it's
it
for the
isn't.
entire year. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Addington.
Second, Scott.
Motion made and seconded. Trustee, questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
E, Baxter and Woodman, Professional Engineering Service Agreement, Water Mains. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Baxter and Woodman Incorporated to perform design, Phase 2 and construction, Phase 3, professional engineering services related to Williams, Cumner, and West End Water Main Replacement Project. Manager Searle.
And I'd just like to point out, before I read the detail here, that this is all from personal knowledge that Director of Public Works, Steve May, has because of his tenure here with the village. North William Street is an undersized 4-inch water main that is over 70 years old. West End Avenue is a 6-inch water main that has over 40 water main breaks since 1950. Cumner Avenue water main has had over 75 water main breaks since 1930. All three streets will have new 8-inch PVC pipe installed, along with 3 new valves and 12 new water hydrants. This engineering services contract includes preparation of plans, specifications, bidding, and inspection services to coordinate this project during 2014. All kidding aside, I was talking with Director May the other day, and we're one of the few suburban communities that started very aggressively back in the 80s. If you remember, our water superintendent, Clinton Webb, was a huge supporter of putting in PVC pipe to replace the iron that we had that was decades old, as you can see from the example here. And it has substantially reduced the number of water main breaks that we have on an average per year. And I think if I'm correct, we have yet to have a water main break on a PVC pipe since it's been
Not
installed.
one due to failure or any natural reasons. I mean, they've been hit by construction,
Right.
but no failures of this water main since we've been using it. I want to say 1988. Wow.
Okay. So, this is our continued effort to upgrade and improve the infrastructure. And obviously, we have a great track record with this PVC material to help minimize the number of water main
We've been
breaks.
aggressively going through the older part of town where we have these small diameter, cast iron pipes too. So you've seen the Lincoln Grand Adams and so we're continuing on in that neighborhood. This is the next phase.
How many more 4 inches do we have?
I'll find out. I want to say this is the last of it. We even have some 6-inch that we're replacing too. Our minimum now is 8-inch for fire flow reasons, and we're glad to be addressing the worst parts.
Very small.
Yeah. I thought we had all those back in the 80s.
Yeah.
First, some of this was unincorporated back then still, I think.
Well,
Could be.
any public questions? Anybody from the audience? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second, Barker.
Motion been made and seconded. Trustee, questions or comments?
Glad to get rid of a 4-inch line.
Seeing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barker. Barry.
Yes.
I got
Trustee
2 votes.
Scott.
Yes.
Sweet.
Agenda item F, Burns and McDonald, Phase 2 Green Infrastructure, Addendum 1, Wilmette Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing Addendum Number 1, proposal from Burns and McDonald for the Phase 2 Engineering Design Services Green Infrastructure for the Wilmette Avenue Reconstruction Project, MFT number 12-00101-00PV. Manager Searle.
This area has kind of a long history. Wilmette Avenue between 55th Street and 56th Street is the last remaining section of unimproved curbs and sidewalk. This section was eliminated from the 55th Street reconstruction project after a number of county budget cuts and reductions in the scope of work, which we anticipated a number of years ago was going to be addressed as part of that project. Phase 2 Engineering Design Services was approved in February 2012. Design for the reconstruction of the roadway, including pavement, reconstruction, storm sewers, curbs, sidewalk, street lighting, and related work. The sidewalk and street installation will also be included along Wilmette Avenue from 56th to 59th Street. Now that the Stormwater Committee has talked quite a bit about interest in the green initiative and amenities, this new proposal in the amount of $12,900 shall add the design of green alternatives into the existing project.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved, Seneca.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee, questions or comments? Oh, it's over there. It's those two. Trustee Seneca and trustee Nero. Any trustee questions or comments?
Just to clarify, the 12,900 is being added to the design? Can we explain that to me as far as?
This project, and the background is the same for the next item too, for Cumner Street. We're already in the budget to be designed, and that design is nearly complete, and it's actually ready to go out to bid to reconstruct it in its traditional form with the curb and gutter and the asphalt street, and like we would any other reconstruction. Since that design contract has been awarded both for Wilmette and Cumner, the presentation and the efforts of the Stormwater Committee, and you've all seen the presentations regarding green infrastructure. So there was I don't want to say a concern, but certainly if there's a very, very strong interest in proceeding with green infrastructure improvements village-wide, we wouldn't be applying those to streets like, for example, that we're going to resurface, just maintenance of the surface, but if we're rebuilding it and we have a strong feeling that we're going to go to green infrastructure in the near future anyway, should we be doing it immediately right now? That was one part, to take advantage of that step. And even if we don't commit, to green infrastructure village-wide, I'll add that much of the presentation you saw was on permeable pavers for a pavement surface, and there are other types of pervious surfaces, including concrete and asphalt. And we thought this was a perfect opportunity to try the different methodologies, one in one location and a different one in another location. We'll have our own test section, if you will, and then we can compare that to whenever we establish a pilot project with the brick paver work and those two. So these designs have already been awarded. Actually, I would call them 95% complete. We could go out to bid in a traditional method right away without spending any more money. This is to amend these projects to include. We haven't even really discussed with them to what extent we want them to incorporate which green infrastructure. We would, if you're supportive tonight, we would have a meeting with them and, maybe even cooperation with the Stormwater Committee and decide to what level of infrastructure improvements we want to change to.
So to go to the green, would we have to get the firm who did the presentation involved with the sides?
No, actually, that's a great question and a good point, because they are not the only ones that know how to do this. Many of the contractors, consultants that we use, whether it's Baxter and Woodman, Burns and McDonald, Chris Burke, they have a lot of experience in this as well. So they're equipped, and in fact, they're proud of their programs for doing it too. So it's another opportunity for us to diversify that a little bit and then see how we like these different types turn out. It'll help us make better decisions proceeding.
So then I'm going to understand on this project, to go to the green infrastructure would add $12,900?
Not the construction, it would add.
Just in the
that-
engineering.
design to change the
Just in
plans
the
and
engineering.
specifications. And then they would give us an estimate for what that construction would be, and that would certainly be, tens of thousands of dollars more expensive, but you get the other benefits of stormwater management. The Cumner, not as much as, Wilmette is a tributary to a poor drainage area, which was just a short block to the south, so all of that drains to the south, so we are getting an immediate stormwater benefit at that location. And then Cumner, that's all tributary to St. Joseph's Creek, and someone else could describe that better than me if you wanted to. But.
Yeah, it's two great projects. It's a great step in the right direction.
Good location.
Two good locations, both of them different water, obviously one closer to me than the other, but I think it's an immediate impact we'll see, and it'll really give the village, all of us, an opportunity to see how these technologies work. So we know, in the near future, if we are going to do this, we got actual, we can see what's going on, how it works, what it does, and if it really does what everybody tells us.
Before we spend the big money on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we still really don't know
It's a drop in the
that
little
it's more
bucket.
money, right? I mean, we've really never had a bid to compare side by side.
Right.
We never have, but we do know it's it's more money, it's more expensive materials, and it's more complex labor. In the presentation, they won't say it like that it's more expensive. They focused on the fact that they've got the ability to, attract grants to offset the fact that it's more expensive to do. But that doesn't mean, that's part of their assignment too, is to search out opportunities for that as well.
And I think that's what we're hoping for, is that grants could offset the additional costs.
Yes.
So, all right, so any additional questions?
Plus the soft costs too. I mean, there might be some potential soft costs. Maybe we don't have to put as much salt down, or maybe we won't have as much maintenance and that stuff. That'll take a couple of years to.
And it lasts longer.
It'll last, exactly.
Okay. Can I have a
It's for me.
roll call, please?
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
And G is the second part of that, Burns and McDonald Green Infrastructure Addendum 1, Cumner. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing Addendum Number 1, proposal from Burns and McDonald for the Phase 1 and 2 engineering design services, the green infrastructure for Cumner Road reconstruction project. Manager Searle.
Cumner Road between 59th and 61st Streets is a substandard road that the village inherited when this area was annexed. Currently, the width of the roadway varies between 16 and 18 feet wide and has been showing signs of base failure. Phase 2 engineering design services was approved in February 2012, which included the design for the reconstruction of the roadway, including pavement, storm sewers, curbs, sidewalks, street lighting, and other related work. Now, again, the Village Board Stormwater Committee is interested in the green infrastructure amenities. This new proposal in the amount of $37,000 shall add the design of green alternatives into the existing project.
And any additional questions from the public? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion approved, Scott.
Second Addington.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any additional trustee questions or comments?
Could Steve May tell us what the width of the road will be now compared to what it is? I mean, what it will be compared to what it is now?
Probably double.
Seemingly, the back to curb is 27 feet.
Wow.
And that allows for
Two-way
two lanes of traffic and parking on
It's a
one side.
one-way street now.
It's basically a
You
one-way
guys all
street.
seen it.
Yeah.
It'd be like Blackhawk then? Kind of
Blackhawk is even wider. It would be
Okay.
like any other of our modern subdivisions.
Okay.
Steve, the same as that.
All right. Thank you.
There's one resident that probably boasts his driveway is wider than the, than the
That's right.
street.
And it is.
It is.
Maybe I shouldn't say
Additional
proud, but maybe
comments?
aggravated.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to H, the intergovernmental agreement, Markers District 60 for custodial service. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing a draft intergovernmental agreement, an IGA, with Marker District 60 to provide custodial services for Westmont Center, 1 South Cass Avenue. Manager Searle.
District 60 is offered to provide custodial services using their custodial staff and equipment to the entire Westmont Center building. This was a discussion that we started back last spring. The building maintenance efforts through overtime payments to existing public works staff has not kept pace with the expectations of several of the building tenants. We have a proposal, or actually it has several options from Marker 60, and the village attorney's developed a draft IGA. What we're recommending is the option in which they would provide custodial services for the entire building. And then they offer a third option for an occasional deeper cleaning type thing where they would use their personnel and equipment. And I guess I'd be willing to answer any questions unless, I don't know, Steve, do you have any other comments?
No, other than this is a good opportunity for us, both for another form of intergovernmental relationships that we look for to, work with agencies that are better equipped to provide these types of services with their, in this case, their own custodial staff. And it also ensures, exactly match the level of service that the, tenants are expecting in that building as well. Currently, when we lost our part-time employee that was dedicated to that building, our costs are pretty much essentially at an overtime rate to do it. So this is very attractive. This is for almost a year and a half, the initial proposal, and that's at a cost that already competes with our annual cost just for the labor. They're including the supplies as well, and it's a good opportunity for us.
Any comments from the public? Not, do I have a motion?
No.
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Nero.
Motion's been moved and second. Trustee, questions or comments? Trustee Addington.
And how does this affect the employee who is currently doing that work?
Well, he will lose the overtime that he's been receiving, and Steve, I'm going to have to look to you for an approximation of how long he had that, because that was not something that occurred several years ago. We had a part-time employee who did the work. Do you know how long ago, Steve, that started?
I want to estimate this at, well, at least 2 years. I'm trying to think of how far back it went. At the time when we were making the decision whether or not to reestablish the part-time employee who was spending 4 hours a day in there, we went to this method, and this was actually cheaper than replacing the 4-hour employee, but we're not spending 4 hours of time per day in the building. We're spending 2 hours of time in the day. So I forgot to mention that as well. This proposal not only nicely priced, it also encompasses more physical time doing that work, which we've decided in the interim that we can't do for, the 2 hours per day. And certainly don't want to run the costs up, to make it 4 hours a day.
I'm not sure. Does that answer your
Well,
question?
I think it answers my question. The problem is that the current employee has had this income for some time, and then all of a sudden now it goes away. It's got to have some impact.
It does, and
Certainly
I'll be
does.
honest with you, years ago, this particular employee was receiving more overtime that we eventually had to cut back because we went through budget cuts. It's unfortunate, as you know, overtime is not something that's guaranteed. And we are the owners of this building, and we're trying to keep our tenants happy. And we gave it a shot, and it just, there's just not enough time. And you would have to spend more overtime and have more time of this employee spent over there to meet those expectations. And I don't want to see, personally, I don't want to see this building suffer either, because
That's
that
the other
employee is
question.
still working here, and he would focus his time here and his attention here.
But his normal work schedule, it takes care of this building. That chews up all of his normal time. What he did for us at Westmont Center was all overtime.
Correct.
In addition, right?
Yeah.
But he is receiving some overtime here for meeting nights too, right?
Yes, the schedule is flexible, and on days where there are no business in this building after 5 p.m., there's actually an much earlier schedule that's worked to allow the noisier type of custodial work to be done before staff arrives. And he would be done somewhere in the middle of the afternoon. On meeting nights, for purposes of being able to do the work in the building as well as kind of monitor the rest of the building while public meetings are going on, there's our village board meetings, there's school meetings, there's peer jury, and those opportunities. He starts later in the day, but the 8-hour day still ends regularly before any of these meetings are over. So he does have overtime in the evening, but it's highly variable, depending on. I'm trying to keep talking about it right now, to try and run that up a little bit.
I did point out in my email to you with the draft IGA that Marker's willing to provide these cleaning services on days that they are open for business. I don't have a calendar from them to find out all the days throughout the year when they are not open for business, where we still may have a need for cleaning services over there.
Right.
When that happens, we can either go to the district and say, well, your custodians come in on basically what's an off day, provide cleaning services, and we'll pay you separately for that, or we could have our employee,
Or we could
village employee do that.
there on those days. Okay. So there's still, you know, the only reason that I brought it up is that I think I have a pretty good handle on the whys and the fact that they'll give us more time to clean the building, which we want it to look as nice as we can. I mean, with Patty's in there and the state senator's in there, and so there's some positives with that, but it's taking something away from somebody who's had it for a while, and you know, but it sounds like there might be some mitigation.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be done better and cheaper. Not better, we give more hours of attention to it. Yes, yes.
But they're going to put twice as much time into the building.
Yes.
So.
That's not criticism in terms of the quality of the current employees.
She
It's
did double the
a
work.
matter of, trying to do all that effort and overtime in a very short overtime period that he was allotted to do it, and it's just difficult, to say the least.
Any other comments?
I would just point out, I think if this is approved, Marker's next meeting is January 28th, I believe, when they would be voting on this, and the services would start Monday, February 3rd.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Agenda item I, 2012-2013 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. The board to consider an ordinance accepting the fiscal year 2012-13 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Manager Searle.
The CAFR for fiscal year 2012-13 is ready for acceptance by the board. This report is for fiscal year May 1st, 2012 through April 30th, 2013. Is prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The auditors prepare the report, also review internal controls, which can be discussed in executive session.
So Spencer and our auditor are here.
Just wanted to kind of summarize it right there from the agenda, but wanted to introduce you to our auditor, Jason Coyle. He's been here previously, and he'll be kind of giving some highlights and answering any questions that you may have. Jason?
There you go.
Good evening. I'll keep it brief. I know you've been here a while. But I think you all do have in front of you what we call the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the year ended April 30th, 2013. As you know, you do continue to issue a comprehensive annual financial report, which provides more information to the user of the financial statement than you are necessarily required to, which is a good thing in the sense that the readers of the financial statements see more transparency and have more information about your financial history. So you're to be congratulated on continuing to do that. As you know, all the information in here is the village's financial information, but on page 1, 2, and 2 is our report on the financial information. So those are the only 2 pages that actually come from our firm. The rest of the information is the village's information. And this opinion looks a little different than it has in the past. There's some highlights, some headings, because the audit standards changed and changed the format of it. But the level of assurance that we give continues to be the same as what we gave in the past, which is what we call an unmodified opinion, which means all the information in here can be relied upon in all material respects. After our opinion, there's a tab called MD&A, which stands for Management's Discussion and Analysis. This highlights and summarizes what occurred during the year. This was, as the name implies, written by management. If you look at nothing else in this 100-page document, which I don't expect everybody to read page by page, I would encourage you to at least thumb through the MD&A and take a look at what's in here. It does a nice job of summarizing and kind of pulling out the highlights, and it also puts in some nice pie charts to give you a little pictorial of where your money comes from. And particularly on page 8, there's 2 pie charts, and you can see at the top you have a diverse revenue stream. Your revenues come from multiple different sources, and then at the bottom there's a nice pie chart that shows where do you spend your money. And as expected, quite a bit of your money, almost 80% of the money that leaves the village goes directly back to the community in form of public services and public safety and public works. Moving past that, we'll get into the heart of the financial statement, starting on page 13, what we call your statement of net position here. This is where we take all the funds of the village and combine them together, and we also add on the capital assets, your buildings and roads and things like that, and also on here is all your long-term debt. So your governmental activities, maybe we should start with your business type activities. That's mainly your water fund. Your governmental activities is everything else, and that component unit column is the library. So at the bottom is really what's left over after you take what you have and subtract out what you owe, and that's known as net position, and you have $55.3 million in net position as of the end of April. Moving past that, I'll just touch on 1 or 2 more places. Looking at page 19 and 20, these are the main operating funds of the village. And this is what we basically call your income statement. At the top is the revenues, and below that is your expenditures, and at the bottom is your fund balance, which is what's left over and equates to your cash at the end of the year. You'll see in here that your fund balance has increased overall by $2.5 million. There were a few funds that had a decrease, but overall your fund balance has increased. Your general fund, which is your main operating fund, increased $1.8 million, bringing your ratio of fund balance to expenditures, which a lot of communities look at about 32%, which is a nice place to be. That's a good, healthy ratio to be at. And just touch on one other place here, really. If you move to page 24, this is your proprietary fund or business type activity. This is your water fund, is the main fund here. As you know, your water fund, the idea is there is to be self-supporting. You charge services for that product. And you did have an operating income for the year of $56,000. But after transfers and other things, it did have a slight decrease in the net position of $211,000. I think I'll just wrap it up by saying that in a few years, there's going to be some new reporting standards that come out related to pensions. It's going to have a rather major impact on the financial statements. That first financial statement we looked at, called the statement of net position, it won't impact the fund financial statements like your general fund, but your unfunded liabilities for your police pension and IMRF, the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, is now included in here as a back schedule. That unfunded liability in the future, in a couple of years, is now going to be included within your statement of net position. So all of a sudden, you're going to have a rather large liability that's going to be put onto the books of the village. You're not alone in that. That's a statement that's going to impact everybody, counties, state of Illinois, which you can imagine what that would look like. So it'll have a big impact on your financial statements. Just want to make you aware of that. And we've been working with Spencer on getting ready for that, because there's a few things the village has to do in preparation for that. So I think with that, I'll open it up to any questions you guys have, and be happy to answer those for you now.
Given the liability issue, the funding that you're talking about, is that by law, or is that just something that?
Putting the liability, the unfunded, that is external financial reporting standard from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So there's a standards board that impacts governments, which is what we call GASB, and there's a standard board that impacts private sector. The private sector have had this on their books for a very long time, which is why we don't see pensions very much in the private sector anymore, because they had to put these liabilities on their books. Now, many years later, kind of government is catching up with you, if you will, catching up with that, and the reporting is going to be similar to what the private sector now has to do. So,
thank you.
I'm not saying that means pensions will go away in governments, but it's just changing the reporting.
Go ahead.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Nero.
Motion been moved and seconded. Any additional questions? or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Yes.
Agenda item J, Village Board Compensation. Board to consider an ordinance to reinstate the compensation of the Village Board of Trustees, the mayor, and commission members. Manager Searle.
The municipal code provides that any changes made will take effect during the current, will not take effect during the current term of elected officials and must be made more than 108 days prior to commencement of the term of the officers whose compensation is changed. As Trustee Addington referred to earlier, this was brought up earlier this evening at our Administration Finance Committee for discussion, and we also included on the agenda then to follow up that conversation here.
Anybody from the audience have any questions? And do I have a motion?
Motion Addington
Could-
to approve.
Could we maybe split this and do the commissioners' salaries separately? Into
Do I have
two
a
motions?
second? Let me
Second.
get it first. There's a motion been made and seconded.
Okay,
On the question.
split them, if we could.
Make an amendment.
You're asking to amend the motion?
Yes.
So procedurally, you can make a motion to amend and state what the amendment is. The board would then vote on that amendment, and basically the language of the amendment, and then if that is approved, then they would vote on the motion as amended. So you would need to make a motion first.
So I'll make the motion to split, to do mayor and trustees and then commissioners.
Okay. That makes sense to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And also, is the village clerk, should that be listed there too, or no?
The village clerk salary was unchanged
Okay.
because it was considered more of a full-time type job.
So right now, there's a motion on the table to amend the original motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded to amend the original motion to essentially just vote on trustees and the mayor as one, and the commission members, and the commission members we're talking about are the police and fire and the planning and zoning.
Correct.
Those are the two commissions by statute that are required to be in existence. So, any questions?
Just to confirm, this vote is only on the amendment, not on the underlying subject matter.
Okay. So right now, we're going to ask Clerk Simsky to vote on the amendment.
Right. Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
No.
Trustee Barry.
No.
Trustee Addington.
No.
Mayor Gunther.
No.
First time.
First vote.
It's your first vote, all right.
So that failed 2-4. So now the board considers the original motion.
3-4.
3-4.
I'm sorry, 3-4. The board considers the original motion, which has already been made and seconded, so
And the original motion is to approve as presented in our packet. That's the board to consider an ordinance to reinstate the compensation of village board of trustees, mayor, and commission members. Additional questions?
I'd like to make another motion. I don't know how technically to say this, but I feel that the mayor should be separate from the trustees. I think the mayor is more of a full-time role than the trustees, and I think it should be a full, that I would be willing to vote on separately. I think what you have to do is a lot more involved than what we do, and I think it deserves a separate vote by itself. So I don't know how to say that, John, but.
just like Sue did, motion to amend to have 2 votes, one for the mayor's compensation and one for the remaining.
So motion to amend to vote for mayor's compensation separate to the trustees and the
Trustees
commissioners.
and commissioners.
And commissioners.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second, Scott.
Third.
Motion made and seconded to break it into 2 again, the mayor 1, the trustees and the commission as the second. Is that, any questions? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Don't get to vote.
No, you don't.
So now we go,
No, how the heck does that work?
now I got to ask the attorney. We have to have a motion to start all over.
No.
Oh, we got a motion.
We're all set procedurally, so now we can have a discussion on the original motion as amended. And then once the discussion's done, we vote on the original motion as amended in two phases.
That's what I said, you need two votes.
Yes.
Two votes. So which one do I do first?
Well, let's just have a discussion
All right.
on everything,
All right.
and then we can ask for.
Right now, as it stands, that we just voted on breaking it into two, the mayor being one vote and the trustees and the commission members second. Any additional comments or questions? And I need a motion to, or just, I call a motion to, I just call a vote.
Probably a good idea. Why don't we do a motion to approve reinstating compensation for the mayor?
So move Nero.
Second, Addington.
There's been a motion made and seconded. On the question. I'm glad you're here, John. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Motion carried. Do I have another motion to approve the reinstate the compensation for the board, the trustees and the commission members?
Motion to approve by Addington.
Second, Scott.
Motion been made and seconded. Any additional comments or questions?
My only comment on this is, I think everyone knows where I stand, so I won't go on and on about that endlessly. But though I'll be giving a no vote, I want it made perfectly clear that the reason I wanted the commissions out was I definitely support reinstating their $35, whatever it is, per month to these volunteers. So when I vote no, it's not because I don't want the commissions to be paid.
We should have asked you that before. All right.
I would point out, I think I mentioned this last time, it was considered, when this vote was made last December in 2012 to eliminate compensation. From a timing perspective, it's a little unique. You can't change compensation for an existing term of an elected official or a commissioner who's in the midst of a term, and you can't change compensation within 180 days of an election, which we were. So currently, everyone's receiving compensation unless they donate it back to the village, and this, if it's voted, well, I just want to point that out.
It just reinstates it.
Yeah.
I have one question. You're also referring to the commission members. How does that come into play if they're serving an expired term?
Their compensation would end immediately. And has ended.
It has.
Has ended. I should
But
say.
this would, if in fact we
Would
pass this,
reinstate
it get reinstated.
Correct.
Okay.
And just one last thing I just want to say as well is on the commission members, I wanted them separate as well, just on our prior discussions based on staff's explanation on more of their details of their duty and the importance of their position. I was wanted to vote separate, but given that we can't, obviously everybody knows where I stand on this, but
Okay.
it is what it
I
is.
should have asked for an explanation before.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, there is a motion. Any additional comments? Motion we are voting on is to reinstate the compensation for the Board of Trustees, which doesn't affect the standing board now, the sitting board. And the commission members, which are the two commissions, the police and fire and planning and zoning, which would be reinstated immediately if we pass this. So just so we clarify that. Any additional comments? Roll call, please.
Can I?
Oh, yes, before that came in, you did it.
There's the ability to refund,
Yeah.
to donate it back.
Yes, that's what I think
Right?
trustee
So there's
Seneca
the
was saying.
ability to do that.
And how do you do that? I thought there was,
Tell Ron Searle to do it, and he handles it. And there's gonna have to be,
I
I'm sure
would
there's a
like
way
to-
of doing it, but
I would like to do that for the remainder of my term because I didn't realize we could do that. I'll say again, we just borrowed $10 million for roads. Our employees took pay cuts and didn't get raises and gave furlough days. I just feel that we should be volunteers. I think it's a choice we make. I won't beat that like a dead horse, but that's just the way I feel.
we have to represent and have people represent this community, a cross-section of what of people who live here. And that means all financial aspects of they have, whether they're working, they're not working, they're retired, they're business owners. If we don't have the ability to have compensation for all the things that we have to do in this community, functions we have to attend, money that has to be spent, that should not be taken out of a family budget, we are going to limit the amount of people and some of the people in this community from ever getting involved because they can't afford it. And that should never happen, that it becomes a burden on a person's family. If a person sits there and he can afford it, or she affords it and says, I want to give the money back, fine, that's the opportunity. If there was no opportunity to do that.
And I respect that, Bob. I respect that opinion, but I'll also say I firmly believe you should not run for this position to be looking for income. And I've heard that battered around, income.
What do you say to the person who says, I want to be on a board, I'd like to run, but I can't afford it?
We've had that happen, a lot of people, because they can't afford to run the campaign, they can't afford to, you know,
So we
you make.
we eliminate.
I mean, you make different, you know, it's a personal
We
call.
eliminate.
It's a personal call,
I
is what
understand,
I'm
but we
saying.
eliminate a cross-section of our community,
I don't know.
which is
I-
half
and it
half
could
of
be.
rental and
It
a
could
largest
be.
population of seniors
Could
in this
be.
area.
That could work. I agree.
And I won't, I mean,
No,
we
but I
just said
mean-
horse either,
But you know, you've got school boards and library boards and park boards that aren't compensated, and those are superior, wonderful people. So,
We
You know.
just approved a $40,000 dune buggy on tonight's agenda. And really, we're talking basically almost like $75 per trustee per
I
month.
think it's just
mean-
more of a
I mean,
matter
we're-
of principle
I
and
think,
how you
yeah,
feel.
for me, it's just more-
Philosophically, I want to
and
go to.
everybody's different. Everybody's different.
But you know,
You know.
to put things in perspective, I mean, you're talking about, basically, if you take the trustees' time, you're talking about equivalent to under $5 an hour, or less, and you know that. The time you put in for what you get, $100 a meeting, and to prepare for it, and to sit here, and then also do it back, you're making, and you didn't do it for the income. I don't think anybody's here doing it for the income. Basically, the whole idea is this, legally, we can provide compensation for a board to
Right.
cover the costs, and we're no different than other communities. Matter of fact, we're probably middle of the road. Other communities pay more, and some pay less. And some of those boards you're talking about, Trustee Seneca, are by state law, do not allow compensation.
Right.
You know, the park, the school, they're not allowed to do that. That's part of the whole thing, to be nonpartisan and not allow them to have any pay at all. I think so, the amount of time that's required to be a representative on this board as a CEO or an official to run a $45, $50 million corporation, you're not asking, it's not a lot of money. And it does equate.
I
down.
don't dispute.
It's a philosophy,
or,
I agree.
You know, I respect everyone's opinion. I'm just simply stating the way I feel.
And we respect yours.
Yeah.
You know, and for
And I
me,
think
I don't
it's-
think we should be paid, but.
But again, for years, everybody, and again, a couple things just for the public, because if they hear this, the compensation for the trustees, even before I came on, was cut in half.
Well, because the meetings were cut.
Yeah,
We
but
didn't
that-
change the compensation, we reduced the number of meetings.
But it did reduce it from, you know, almost $5,000 a year to $2,000 a
Right.
year as far as the trustee
Yeah.
reimbursement.
Right.
And the $2,000 is probably just going to cover the cost of the trustee to stay involved and.
That's fine.
Okay, I'm just saying, so I'm just trying to justify it to everybody, because I think everybody understands everybody's position, so. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington,
Yes.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Trustee Scott,
Yes.
Trustee Barker,
Yes.
Trustee Nero,
No.
Trustee Seneca.
No.
Okay, the motion carries. Miscellaneous.
Hey,
Oh,
Harold's
Harold,
got
why do I
something.
always look at, everyone looks at me?
He's got a couple
I have a
things.
suggestion for miscellaneous.
Just put Trustee
No, could
Barry.
we just make miscellaneous via email? I mean, the stuff we talk about, we could just be emailing staff.
Miscellaneous, Trustee Barry.
I really don't have anything.
Come on. I just, just in
Again, I'd like to compliment the street department and the public safety and first responders. They did a wonderful job during our blizzard. And Happy New Year.
But again, the reason why it stays on the agenda in case something has been overlooked, you get an opportunity to bring it up. You can't act on a miscellaneous item. You legally can't pass anything under miscellaneous, but you can provide information for a future meeting. So we'll leave it on there, and we won't change the title to
Well,
trustee Bear.
the one thing that I do like about it is if you have residents inquire, they can see that you're inquiring to everyone else about it. And that is the one aspect of it I like.
I got one thing I just want to say, is I want to thank the board for their support for this green infrastructure. I think it's something new to all of us, it's different, and I think it's exciting to be a part of that, because there's no other communities around here that are doing it, so that's all.
I think everybody's excited about that. The committee that we've appointed, the staff, I know that everybody's kind of anxious to kind of see this test area and keep things moving. So I know Steve's excited about it. You'll see, Alex.
We could tell.
But again, if there's no other, I will ask that we have a motion to adjourn the executive session for the purpose of having a discussion with our auditor regarding internal controls.
So move, Scott.
Second.
Second, Barry.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn the executive session. And I have a roll call, please.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Mark?
Thank you.
Yes. Even talk at this.
The regular part of the meeting is adjourned. There will not be any further business after the executive session. Meeting adjourned.